care about is what works and what doesn't work, you know?
All right, well, there you have it, folks. Straight from the horse's mouth. Not to call Paul a horse, but he knows.
Yes.
He knows from whence he speaks. Give everybody the information again to get in touch with you, get in touch with the Proud Boys, Proud Boy Magazine, and all that stuff.
Yeah, Proud Boy Magazine is at officialproudboys.com. You can also follow us on Facebook. I would say follow us on Twitter, but we've all been kicked off, including my personal site and Gavin McInnes' site as well. You can find me on Instagram, Pawl Bazile, Paul spelled with a W, Pawlbazile. And also you could read the columns that I write on Milo's news site, dangerous.com.
All right. This is why we have a big tent in this party. It takes different strokes to move the world, right? Thanks a lot for coming on the 100%. Show and explaining, pal.
Hey, thanks, Gene. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Hey, folks, I just want to let you know about a great opportunity for listeners of Behind Enemy Lines Radio. If you go to our website, www.behindenemylinesradio.us, and click on the same box ad on the right side of the page, you will get a great opportunity for a discounted offer to join SaneBox. SaneBox filters out all the unimportant email from your inbox so that you can really focus on what matters. If you're anything like me, folks, you get hundreds of pieces of email a day, not many of which is important. SaneBox's smart filter will get everything you need to fly through your inbox and finally make email work for you. It gets rid of spam emails, it deprioritizes emails that aren't as important to you, and it helps you unsubscribe from mailing lists and individual senders with ease. So again, go to www.behindenemylinesradio.us and you click on the SaneBox ad and you'll be given an exclusive offer you won't find anywhere else. Behind Enemy Lines.
Gene Berardelli, back behind enemy lines. I want to thank Pawl Bazile for coming on the show. If you choose to, and if you want to find out more information about who the Proud Boys are, what they believe in, and what they do, you can go to officialproudboys.com. Check them out and see what they're all about. Listen, I'm a firm believer in first-hand information, primary source information. I think we should all seek out knowledge in its purest form beyond as many filters as we can possibly get. For instance, what you're doing right now is you're getting your information filtered through this show. Yes, we got you as close as we could to the primary source, but you're hearing about Paul based upon my questions to him and his answers. So you're getting his filter and my filter. Try to break down the filters as much as you can. That's why I encourage you to go seek out that primary information. Go on the internet yourself and go right to their source and see what they're all about. And listen, don't take it ever from me. As we've said on the show before, we are not, quote-unquote, fair and balanced on this show. We are not, quote-unquote, a news source. Let's be very clear what we are. We are not only a little bit of polititainment, but maybe we'll give you a laugh here or there. Maybe we'll drop some knowledge on you here or there. But we are strictly opinionated. In fact, we're so opinionated, we get in trouble for it a lot. So take our opinions for what they're worth. Take our guests' opinions for what they're worth. And use your brain, people. If you're listening to the show already, that means you're probably using your brain already. Not to say that this show is any great shakes, but you're already seeking out alternative ways of getting information outside of the mainstream, which is why we're glad that you're here behind enemy lines. Thanks for listening to the show. I'm Gene Berardelli. Russell will be back next week after he gets back from his drill. Check us out at www.behindenemylinesradio.us. Check us out on the Facebooks and the Twitters at BEL_radio. And if you miss any part of the show, however you're listening to it, whether it be on rebroadcast or a podcast, you can always check us out on all these outlets if you want to find Behind Enemy Lines Radio, including on terrestrial radio at Talk 107.5 FM, WJHC in Jasper, Florida, Talk 92.1 FM, WDDQ, Adele, Georgia, and News Talk 1330 AM, WLBB, Carrollton, Georgia, all part of the Talk America Radio Network, powered by ICRN, the Internet's conservative radio network. By the way, folks, just a quick sidebar about Talk America Radio. I just found this out recently, and maybe this is my own fault for not being as active in Talk America as I should be. But Talk America Radio can be heard not only on the Internet and on terrestrial radio, but we come through your television as well. There's a Roku channel for Talk America Radio, where you get both the Liberty and Justice stations, the two different streams that Talk America Radio has, and you can listen to Behind Enemy Lines and all your favorite shows. And boy, there's a great lineup on Talk America Radio. Check them out and see. There's so many different ways that you can listen to it. How could you not check it out? You can also check us out at KLRN Radio, Lone Star Talk Radio and Sackheads Media, Lanterns Radio at lanterns.buzz, I should say, and Eye to Eye Talk Radio, and of course we're proud to be part of Mojo 50, home, the exclusive home of the Doc Thompson Show, as well as many other fine programming, and more being added just about every week. But if you miss any of the rebroadcasts, which, happen at various times during the week, it's okay, that's cool. We forgive you. Because you can always grab us as a podcast on any number of finer outlets where you can get the best podcasts on the internet, including Spreaker, Stitcher, Podbay, Player FM, SoundCloud. You can discover us on Google Play Podcasts. You can find us on TuneIn, Auto Radio, iHeartRadio, of course, the mighty, mighty iHeartRadio network, and iTunes. So many different ways you can listen Behind Enemy Lines. How are you not listening? Well, I guess because you're listening now, you kind of are listening. But spread the word, folks. Get the word out there about Behind Enemy Lines Radio. We're trying to grow as much as we can from, the little mom and pop and the little engine that could into a little bit more of an influence as we look towards the midterms and beyond, possibly even into 2020. So we've been talking about this topic of political violence. And, it's an epidemic right now on both sides of the aisle. We mentioned Steve Scalise in previous segments. We mentioned Florida Man with his pipe bombs. We talked about the Proud Boys with Pawl Bazile. And we alluded to the confrontations with Antifa and the organization Patriots Prayer in Portland after Antifa basically was allowed by the lefty government and the lefty mayor there to just basically take over and run the city for a while until other organizations stood up and counter-protested. And then the counter-protests, because there was, in my opinion, lax policing intentionally done by a progressive government, ended up with violence. But also this week, according to news reports coming out of Florida, back to Florida again, we're seeing violence breaking out, but in a more serious nature. The Volusia County Republican headquarters, which clearly has signs up for Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump and Governor Scott, who's running for Senate there, was shot up sometime after 4 p.m. on a I believe it was Monday, and maybe it was Sunday, 4 p.m. Sunday, and opening the office sometime on Monday. Now, thank God nobody was hurt. But you got to be scared of the escalation here, folks. And I'm not here to say who started it, but we all have to end it. This is just getting absolutely nuts out there. No one should be packing with intent to kill because of politics in this country. Yes, we have many issues that must be dealt with. Yes, we have strong opinions on those issues. But come on, guys. There's a better way to deal with this, and that's at the ballot box. You go there, no matter what your income strata, no matter what your race, your ethnicity, your gender, your circumstances in life, when you walk into that ballot box, in that voting booth, you don't walk into a ballot box, you walk into a voting booth, duh. When you walk into that voting booth, we're all equal there. You're just as powerful as the President of the United States because you both have one vote. You're just as powerful as Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and, whoever else is in your particular area, your governor, your senator, your congresspeople. And you can nullify their vote. Think about that for a second. I can walk into a polling place in the People's Republic of New York, and in this particular case, I have Lee Zeldin as my congressman, and this gentleman named Perry Gershon, who's a a carpetbagger from the People's Republic of New York City that decided to run for office out here because his vacation home is out here, I can cancel out his vote effectively. He walks into the voting booth, casts a vote for himself, presumably, and I walk in and I cast a vote for Lee Zeldin. So now my vote has nullified his. But then somebody else nullifies mine, and we go back and forth until everybody's voted, and we count them all up, and we see who wins. And then we have a transition of power that is peaceful, equitable, and without incident. And I guess maybe the point I'm trying to bring up right now is maybe we can find a route to our particular problems when it comes to Donald Trump. Now, again, I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm going to put something out there, and I want you to respond to it at www.behindenemylinesradio.us. Political points of view have been around since, this country was founded. And before that, of course, in other countries. But we're talking about, American political culture, right? We haven't had a disputed election like we had between Trump and Hillary Clinton since probably 2000, when you had George W. Bush versus Al Gore. You remember Al Gore, the inventor of the internet and all that, right? And even then, if you remember how the climate was in Florida, here we go again, of all places, it got a little dicey and it got a little, topsy-turvy and it got heated. But in the end, Al Gore acknowledged and respected the final vote count. However they got to it, and listen, reasonable people can disagree as to how the recount in Florida should have gone down and how ballots and how it should have been constructed and hanging chads and all that other nonsense. But at the end of the day, Al Gore went out there and said, this is our democracy at work. This is the results of the election. I respect these results, and I concede the race to President Bush. Now think about what Hillary's been doing for the past 2 years in comparison. And the situations are very similar. Closely contested elections, popular vote different than electoral college. And yet, even though Hillary was more soundly defeated in the sense that more than one state was in play that contributed to her loss. We're talking about Wisconsin, we're talking about Michigan, we're talking about Pennsylvania. Many states in play. Florida, again, here we go again. Of course, all of our listeners in WJHC's got to be loving this right now in Jasper, Florida. You guys are always important around election year, aren't you? Even though there are more states in play in this particular election, Hillary Clinton never really respected the results of the election. She's never gotten over the results of the election. In fact, she's going on TV saying, I may not want to run again in 2020, but I still want to be president, whatever that means. So it's, the goof of all times, I want to run, but I don't want to be elected. Gee, that sounds so Clinton, doesn't it? That's so Hillary. But I digress from the point. The point being, what Hillary stoked was a fire that was going around since Bush v. Gore. But Al Gore, to his credit, quelled that fire. It simmered down, and then, of course, 9/11 happened, and the nation came together. There was a unifying factor there. What we're seeing now is that Hillary Clinton divided the nation, pitted the opposition, pitted the resistance against President Trump. Never accepted the results of the election. Ironically, she was the one concerned that President Trump would not respect the results of the election. And next thing you know, we're talking about Russian collusion and obstructions of justice and scandal upon fake scandal. And what do you have? You have the mess that we're in and the escalation of rhetoric between Trump and Hillary, which got heated during the campaign, but then only kept going and going and going as the witch hunt continued into collusion. The media got involved, and here we are now. But I'll tell you this as well. President Trump, for his end, has also stoked the fires for almost the same reason.